Yeah, the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds album. I first heard it in 1978. It was completely new to me. I had never even heard Sloop John B before. I had ridden my bicycle 5 miles to Metro Center in Phoenix. I was looking through cutout bins at record stores. I found a cassette of So Tough and Pet Sounds, which was from 1972. It was priced at $2.99. I bought it, rode my bicycle 5 miles all the way back home, curious to hear the music on my new find. I was impressed. That's putting it mildly. A lot of the people that I hung out with in my high school years were people who liked popular music like me, and some of them considered themselves to be quite expert on the subject. But I didn't know anyone, not even one person in the 1970s who even knew what Pet Sounds was. And some of those people considered themselves to be very knowledgeable, and they had some game if the subject was Bob Dylan or the Beatles. But the idea that the Beach Boys had ever done anything that warranted their attention seemed preposterous to them. When I found the Pet Sounds album and heard how magnificent it was, it added to its majesty in my mind. The fact that I didn't know anybody else who was even aware of it. That just made it seem even more cool to me. When I got back to the house, I went over to the stereo, put the cassette in. Wouldn't it be nice? When that snare hit toward the beginning of the song, it just commanded my attention. That snare and that vocal, wouldn't it be nice? It just seemed to come out of the speaker and grab me. That was a very interesting song. It was good, but accordions and a sophisticated bridge, a breakdown with the sax line, the tempo slowing down and then speeding back up. It had some elements that on paper, I don't know if that would work, but the ear test suggested that it worked brilliantly. But I didn't know how special the album was going to be yet because I had heard albums with one good song or two good songs. Other than a compilation, I'd never heard an album that was good from start to finish. And as I listened to the album, it rolled into the second song, You Still Believe in Me. And that was quite a watershed moment for me. I put together a thought while listening to that song that had never occurred to me before. I knew that popular music could be good. I knew that when I heard something like In My Room by the Beach Boys or Yesterday by the Beatles, I knew that it was sophisticated and good. But it hadn't occurred to me that it could be artistic. I thought of classical music as being artistic, and that's really the only music that I thought of as being artistic until I heard Pet Sounds. It was that vocal section where the falsetto sings a line, and then the line is sung by the bass vocal, and then it's followed by the same line with multi-part harmony. That's when it occurred to me that I was listening to something artistic. The lead vocal on You Still Believe in Me has such a tonality about it. It seems so vulnerable, so emotionally naked. I found it to be very captivating. That's true of the entire album. Um, I found the whole thing to be very compelling. As the cassette rolled into the third song, That's Not Me, the lyrics of that one were somewhat in keeping with the experience I was having as a 14-year-old freshman in high school, um, being autistic and seeing my classmates go further and further into phoniness and dishonesty in an attempt to be socially viable. And so the content of those lyrics in That's Not Me, about someone having to be genuine rather than trying to be someone else, that resonated with me, as did a number of other lyrics on the album. The next song was Don't Talk. Again, the vocal just seemed emotionally naked, very moving. It was the kind of vocal that most of the people I knew would have made fun of. But it just seemed so beautiful to me. Don't Talk is an anomaly on that album, in my experience, because it's the only song on Pet Sounds that I only enjoy hearing in the context of the album. I don't like hearing it apart from the album, but I like it very much when I'm listening to the entire thing. The next song was I'm Waiting for the Day, with that soft cell verse, hard cell chorus. And at some point, I was thinking, these songs are really good. It's unusual for for an album to have this many good songs on it. How long can they keep this up? And I remember thinking, well, it's going to peter out. There'll be some crap toward the end of the album, because there always was. Usually with albums that I heard. As the cassette played on, I heard Let's Go Away for a While. Mesmerizing, hypnotic, odd chord changes. It just sounded brilliant. To me, it sounded like a musical version of Paintbrush and Canvas. It was a sonic scape. The next song was Sloop John B. Loved that. The way the instruments kept building throughout the song, the harmonies, that bass line in the third verse was very unusual for pop music, but it worked. Doom, 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 doom. It's an unusual bass line, but it was cool. And that is what we would think of as side one of Pet Sounds. Talk about side two in the next video. Later.